Today we're going to show you a couple of checks that you can do on your own vehicle at home if you are repeatedly having battery drain issues and coming out to your vehicle and finding it needs a jump start. And we're going to be checking the battery, the alternator and also the parasitic drawer on the vehicle when it's left stationary and parked overnight. For safety purposes, I would recommend wearing rubberized gloves as we are dealing with electrical circuits. The first test I would want to do is on the battery itself, putting a load on the battery with the drop tester to make sure that the battery is capable of turning on the vehicle with its own power. We've just had jump leads on this particular battery, or we've left the battery on a trickle charge overnight and it may have a surface charge on it. So we want to remove that surface charge before completing the drop test, and we're doing that by leaving the headlights on for 2 to 3 minutes. The battery drop tester is very simple in its design in that it's putting a load over the battery to make sure that the battery itself is capable of starting the vehicle. Now we've completed the drop test, the battery is tested perfectly fine. It stayed within the green under load. It stabilised in the green area on the tester itself and it shot back up to 12 volts or thereabouts. So we know that the battery is perfectly fine and serviceable. What you can do now is just check the voltage of the battery. All we're doing is putting the pins of the multimeter across the positive and negative terminals of the battery just to identify a base voltage for this particular battery, which is 12.7 volts, but that's perfectly fine and what we would expect really for a battery of this size. To test the alternator, we're going to start the vehicle and the alternator should provide additional current to the battery, and we'll now be able to see that in comparison to the previous reading. The alternator is supplying additional power to the battery at 14.4 volts. In this example then, we know that the alternator is providing sufficient charge. The next test then will be the parasitic drawer on the vehicle to see if that's what's causing the battery to go dead overnight. The parasitic drawer on a vehicle is a measure of all the ancillaries on a vehicle whilst it's switched off. What we're looking for is that there are no excessive draws on the vehicle that would indicate a short on the vehicle's electrical systems or any of the electrical components. Now I'm going to move the multimeter pins over to amps as I'm checking the parasitic drawer on the vehicle itself. We're going from the positive terminal on the battery to the positive feed to the vehicle itself. We're doing that with the multimeter tool. Put into the 5 amp position, anything under 1 amp would not be sufficient enough to draw this battery overnight. For any normal car, you'd look to see less than 0.5 up to 0.85 on a more modern car with more ancillaries. So from our test, we can rule out any sort of short on the vehicle or any sort of drain on the vehicle itself, causing this battery to lose all of its power. After completing these tests, hopefully you will have found no issues with the vehicle and its electronic system. But if you do find something on the parasitic drawer test, a top tip from me to isolate the problem faster would be to measure it constantly whilst removing fuses from individual circuits on the car. That way you can find what circuit potentially has a draw or a short in it so that you can then proceed with further diagnostic work in that area. If you don't feel comfortable in completing any of these tests yourself, then please contact a professional who will be able to complete these tests on your behalf. If you found this video useful, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and check out the channel for more how-tos.